For decades, the three-pointed star stood for power, prestige, and perfection. Driving a Mercedes-Benz wasn't just transportation, it was a statement of success. But behind the luxury and engineering, trouble was building. Sales slowed, costs climbed, and rivals started closing in. For the first time in years, people inside the industry began asking an unthinkable question. Was Mercedes losing its crown? History has a way of testing giants. The brand that once dominated roads, racetracks, and boardrooms suddenly faced moments where everything could have fallen apart. By the late 2000s, the global financial crisis was shaking industries across the world. Luxury brands were supposed to be untouchable, but even giants bleed when economies collapse. For Mercedes' parent company, Daimler AG, the numbers were alarming. The year 2009 delivered a brutal blow. Losses piled up. Confidence inside the company wavered. Investors were nervous. Competitors like BMW and Audi were becoming more aggressive, launching fresh designs and targeting younger buyers. Meanwhile, Mercedes had a reputation problem. Its cars were respected. But some critics began saying they were becoming boring, safe, predictable. And in the ruthless world of luxury branding, perception is everything. A brand built on prestige cannot afford to look old. Inside boardrooms in Germany, executives knew something drastic had to happen. Because Mercedes had not simply built cars, it had built an identity. The brand that engineers, royalty, and world leaders trusted. But identities can fade if they are not reinvented. And as 2010 approached, one man would step forward with a plan that many believed was impossible. A plan that would bet the future of the company on one enormous gamble. Chapter 2. The man who refused to let Mercedes fall. At the center of the comeback stood a leader with unmistakable charisma. A mustache, a booming laugh, and relentless determination. His name was Dieter Zetsche. Inside the industry, people called him Dr. Z. When he took charge during one of Mercedes' most difficult moments, the challenge was clear. Fix the company, restore the brand, and do it fast. Zetsche understood something many executives overlooked. In a country whose luxury market was exploding faster than anyone expected, China. And if Mercedes could win there, it could change everything. Chapter 3. The billion-dollar bet on China. During the early 2000s, China was transforming into the world's largest automotive battlefield. Wealth was rising rapidly. A new class of entrepreneurs and executives wanted something that symbolized success. And nothing symbolized success quite like a Mercedes. Zetsche pushed aggressively into the market. Factories, partnerships, dealership networks are expanding at incredible speed. Models like the S-Class and E-Class became status icons among Chinese elites. In many cities, owning a Mercedes meant you had made it. The gamble worked. Sales surged. Revenue climbed. Profits multiplied. Within a few years, the company that had struggled through losses was suddenly thriving again. Reports suggested earnings had rebounded dramatically compared to the crisis years. And something else happened too. Mercedes regained its confidence. The brand no longer felt like it was defending its legacy. It was shaping the future again. But just as the business side of Mercedes recovered, another comeback story was already unfolding somewhere very different. Not in boardrooms, but on racetracks. Chapter 4. The Return of the Silver Arrows. Long before modern marketing campaigns and electric vehicles, Mercedes had built its reputation through competition, speed, innovation, and dominance. In the 1950s, the company decided to return to Grand Prix racing after a long absence. The car they built was unlike anything the world had seen. The Formula One World Championship machine, known as the W196, and behind the wheel sat one of the greatest drivers in history. Back-to-back titles in 1954 and 1955. Suddenly the message was clear to the entire automotive world. Mercedes wasn't just a luxury brand. It was an engineering powerhouse. The racetrack comeback rebuilt prestige that marketing alone could never create. But history would prove something important. Comebacks are rarely permanent. Even giants must reinvent themselves again and again. Chapter 5. The Identity Crisis of a Modern Luxury Brand. Fast forward decades. The automotive world had changed dramatically. Technology companies were entering the industry. Electric vehicles were rewriting expectations. Customer tastes were shifting. And luxury brands faced a difficult question. How do you modernize without losing your soul? For Mercedes, this became a defining challenge. The company invested heavily in electrification, futuristic interiors, digital dashboards, massive touchscreens replacing traditional craftsmanship. Some customers loved it. Others felt something important was disappearing. Chapter 6. Listening to the fans. One of the biggest mistakes companies make is ignoring their customers. Mercedes eventually realized something important. The criticism wasn't coming from haters, it was coming from loyal fans, people who loved the brand, people who wanted Mercedes to succeed. Enthusiasts didn't reject technology. They rejected losing the emotion that made Mercedes special: the sound, the performance, the personality. Executives began reconsidering their strategy. Inside engineering departments, discussions started about returning to engines that drivers actually loved, powertrains that delivered both technology and character. And that decision would spark the next comeback. One focused not on survival, but on passion. Chapter 7. The Engine That Brought Back the Feeling. Around the mid-2000s, Mercedes engineers began reviving something familiar: the Inline 6, a configuration known for smoothness, power, and heritage within the brand. Models like the upcoming AMG GLC53 were expected to bring back that character enthusiasts missed. It wasn't just about horsepower numbers, it was about restoring identity. It was a symbolic shift, a message saying, "We hear you. We remember what made us great." And sometimes, going forward means bringing pieces of the past with you. Here is a much more extended, cinematic version of those chapters in the same documentary style. Chapter 8. Reviving Icons. Another strategy in the Mercedes comeback playbook relied on something surprisingly powerful. Not technology, not marketing, memory. Because nostalgia is one of the most powerful forces in the automotive world. And few brands possess a legacy as deep as Mercedes-Benz. For more than a century, the company had produced vehicles that didn't just transport people. They defined eras. The boxy off-roader that became a global status symbol. The elegant sedans that carried presidents and CEOs. The thunderous AMG machines that shook entire streets when they started. So when Mercedes began searching for ways to reignite excitement, executives looked backward as much as forward. Inside design studios and strategy meetings, a question began circulating. What if the future of Mercedes involved bringing back pieces of its past? One of the first ideas was the return of the luxury pickup concept known as the Mercedes-Benz S-Class. The original attempt had arrived too early and struggled to find its place in the market. But times had changed. Premium pickups were becoming increasingly popular across multiple continents. Customers who wanted rugged capability no longer wanted to sacrifice comfort or status. A revived S-Class could fill that gap. A vehicle already surrounded by myth. Celebrities drove them. Armies used them. Collectors adored them. Turning such an icon into a rare convertible again would instantly electrify enthusiasts. But these weren't random ideas. They were calculated moves. Each revival targeted a specific audience: adventurers, young professionals, collectors, luxury traditionalists. Together they formed something powerful. A reminder that Mercedes wasn't trapped in one category. It could be elegant in one moment, aggressive the next, and adventurous the moment after that. The three-pointed star had always stood for dominance on land, sea, and air. Now it symbolized something else, too: survival through reinvention. And sometimes the best way to move forward is to remind the world why it fell in love with you in the first place. Chapter 9. The Future of the Three-Pointed Star. Today, the automotive world is entering one of the most uncertain chapters in its entire history. For over a century, cars followed a familiar formula: engines, fuel, mechanical engineering. But that world is rapidly disappearing. Electric vehicles are replacing combustion engines. Software is becoming just as important as horsepower. Artificial intelligence is creeping into driving systems. And suddenly, the companies shaping the future of mobility aren't only car manufacturers. Technology giants have entered the race. Next-generation software ecosystems. Vehicles are no longer simply machines. They are becoming digital products on wheels. But even as Mercedes races toward the future, the company faces a delicate balancing act. How do you embrace cutting-edge technology without losing the craftsmanship that made people fall in love with the brand? How do you build silent electric vehicles while preserving the emotional thrill that once came from roaring engines? These are the questions shaping the next era of the company. And history suggests something interesting. Mercedes tends to perform best when the stakes are highest, when the industry doubts it, when competitors grow bold. Because pressure has a strange effect on legendary companies. It forces them to rediscover what made them great in the first place. Somewhere in a design studio, a testing facility, or a boardroom in Germany, the next comeback might already be taking shape. A car, a technology, a strategy. Something capable of surprising the entire automotive world once again. But when? If you enjoyed this deep dive into the rise, fall, and comeback of one of the most iconic automotive brands in history, make sure to subscribe and join the channel. Because the stories behind the world's biggest empires are often darker, wilder, and far more dramatic than anyone expects. And trust me, this story is far from over.